Welcome back, everybody, to Ravenstar's Witching Hour. I'm your host, Solaris BlueRaven, and I'm here with my special guest, John Savage. We were discussing some extreme paranormal activity over there in the UK. And John, are you there?
Yep, still here.
Excellent. Yeah, so that was an exciting story you're starting to tell. So let's go ahead and continue on with that. I know you were talking about the ley lines, which is pretty interesting, and so I'll let you go ahead and roll with that information.
Yep, like I said, there was like 4 ley lines in the middle of the house. So anyways, my wife and I got there, and the owner gave us a tour and put us in what's called the bishop's room. And this is the room where they have seen a cavalier come through the wall and also a monk in the corner of the room. So we get there and walked into the room, and it's a stone room with a big stone fireplace. It was very damp. And there's 2 twin beds. So we put our gear on the bed, and we kind of just were sitting there just relaxing, and the owner comes in and say goodnight. And he goes, well, do you want me to have ink? That's what he calls the incubus. I can have ink come in and visit you. It's like, no, we're good, trust me. We don't need incubus for tonight. So we're laying in bed, and this is the only time as an investigator I was laying down with my shoes on, jacket on, lights on. The beds were shaking. And it wasn't like a violent shake. I mean, you could feel like a vibration. Mm-hmm. And I got up, looked around, and couldn't figure out what it was, and laid back down, and the bed started to shake again. And all of a sudden, the door to our room opened and slammed shut. Rolled over, tapped the wife on the shoulder, and said, yeah, we're not going to sleep tonight. Let's go ahead and try to sneak out of the house. But we stayed the night, and we got some really interesting EVPs. We got a couple growls. Didn't capture anything on video, unfortunately. So I was kind of disappointed because I was hoping to get the hype of the house, because everyone kept saying what was going to happen. Mm-hmm. Now, the one thing as a paranormal investigator, you have to love history. You have to be willing to do the background history of a location. Mm-hmm. And one of the places that we stayed in is called Bolingbroke Castle. Bolingbroke Castle was the hunting lodge of Henry VIII, and that's where he was courting Anne Boleyn before he got married to her. We were staying in the castle in Henry VIII's bedroom, in his own bed, which is pretty cool. And I'm laying there, and I'm sitting there with the EVP recorder, and I'm going, gosh, you're not even in a very historical location. It's haunted. What do I ask if the spirit of Henry VIII is here? And I'm laying there, and I couldn't think of anything. Then all of a sudden, I turn on my recorder, and I start singing, I'm Henry VIII. Got done singing, turned the recorder off, played it back, and after you can hear my awful voice, and then you hear a voice saying, be quiet.
Very interesting.
So I went, okay, I guess that means it's time for me to go to sleep. The next morning, we talked to the Lord of the Manor, and he gave us full access to the whole castle. No one else was there. He said the only place we can't go in is into his private living quarters. So we're walking around, and we went to this one huge bedroom on the second floor of the castle. And I asked the question, can you tell me who stayed in this room? I didn't hear anything at the time, but on playback, you hear a voice, a female voice saying, Anne Boleyn.
Wow.
To me, that's like touching history. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, if that was an actual disembodied voice saying Anne Boleyn stayed here, or if that was the spirit of Anne Boleyn, that is awesome. That is what every investigator should achieve. Something historical.
I agree.
You're touching another plane. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
You're part of living history, even if it's for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, there's an imprint there.
Yep, those are my two favorite, and my third favorite is Stonehenge.
Ah, yeah. What'd you feel over there?
Say again?
What did you feel at Stonehenge?
How can I explain the feeling? If you ever go to Stonehenge, you have to walk around barefoot.
Mm-hmm.
The energy there is so vibrant, so focused. It's unbelievable. It's almost, if you're into spirituality, spiritualism, it's almost like a spiritual high.
Nice.
You can feel the energy. I mean, take away the historical part of it, that it's one of the seven wonders of the world. But the energy that surrounds Stonehenge is phenomenal. I mean, I could sit there all day and just meditate.
Nice. Just charge your battery up. Is it similar to a crop circle, would you say, or more powerful?
You know,
Or what's your take on the crop circles?
Oh, geez. I'm sorry. I don't think aliens are going to fly billions of light years to draw pictures in someone's wheat field.
Mm-hmm.
I don't buy it. But Stonehenge, it had to be built by someone with higher intelligence
Mm-hmm.
than the people that were living there at the time. The way it's lined up with the solstice and everything, I don't think man or woman at that time could comprehend the stars.
Mm-hmm.
But the energy there, it's just phenomenal.
Nice. Yeah. That's on my bucket list. If it's still there by the time I get over there.
Well, I'll tell you this. It's a lot smaller than it looks.
That's what I hear. Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking of these huge mammoth, rock formations. And it's like, maybe not even a half acre wide. Which I'm fine with that. I'm standing there going, I'm in the presence of something that I can't fathom. My mind just can't wrap itself around the concept of Stonehenge. But it's great energy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever get a chance, definitely go there. Spend a whole day there, just relaxing, have a picnic, and just meditate.
Yeah, that sounds nice. I could go for that.
And we're actually hoping this year we're going to go back to the UK.
Nice.
And I'll make the beeline straight back to Stonehenge.
Are you doing a tour, or are you just kind of traveling with your wife?
We're probably going to go back home and visit her family.
Nice. That's great.
So, it's like you go visit your folks. I'm going to go over here and just...
That's funny. That's great. Well, what is your take on the old hag that everybody talks about?
Which one? There's
the one that visits people in the middle of the night and sits on their chest energetically, and it's just a horrible experience for a lot of people. Have you heard about that one?
I've heard different variations of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've heard that, there's the old hag. There's also spirit animals that would do that, little gremlins.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to be sucking the life force out of a person.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people are choking at night. I think that's more superstition than anything else.
Okay. I was curious.
If you look at how old that story is, that goes back to 15th, 16th century.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, they didn't understand how, the body works. If you have sleep apnea, of course, you can be choking at night and coughing. It's something natural. But to them, that would have been a demon.
Right. Yeah.
So,
that makes sense.
I'm hoping I'm right on that one. That it's not real.
You don't want to see the old hag, do you? No, I think it's funny because I've heard a lot of stories about it, and a lot of people have parallel experiences with that type of thing. So that's all. That's why I'm asking.
But how much of that is also something that they're wishing for? True.
Yeah, I think they attract it for sure. Just like the boogeyman, little kids in the dark at night, they see all these objects in the corner and they think it's something spooky when it's a coat or something, or a stuffed animal.
Right, and that goes back to what we were talking about earlier of the person creating the event.
Right.
I mean, I'll give you a quick scenario. Let's say the local McDonald's in your town. Okay. If you told 100 people, and you took 100 people to it and told them that a murder took place or it was haunted, I bet you within about 2 hours, a little over half will experience something.
I agree. Yeah.
And it's because it's not because it's haunted. It's because the thought has been put in their heads that it is. Now they're looking for it.
Right. Power of suggestion. They do it on TV all the time.
Exactly. And, that goes back to EVPs. Are the EVPs really a disembodied voice? Or is it a person's subconscious kicking in?
Mm-hmm. Right. Well,
now,
we are multidimensional. Yeah. Go ahead.
Now, I believe it's actually a disembodied voice, a voice from a different parallel.
Right.
And a lot of people say, well, you're using a microphone. It could be, straight radio signals coming in. Mm-hmm. But this year, I'm going to do an experiment to prove to people that it's not that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take a microphone or an EVP recorder. I'm going to put it into a vacuum. I'm going to surround the vacuum with RF blockers. Just basically shield it from any external RF frequencies. Mm-hmm. And see if I can get any EVPs.
Cool. Well, fill me in on that.
Say again?
And when you get that done, make sure you contact me.
Oh, yeah. It's going to take me a while to do it because I want to at least try 150 times to see if I get the same result. Because if it's done in the vacuum and you get a voice, we can then say that the EVP is done through some sort of EMF field. It does not need sound. It doesn't need a voice as a voice that you and I use.
Right.
So we can take that out of the equation now. And if it's shielded, so it's not getting any external interference, and it's just a voice, we can then say it's something from a different dimension. I'm still working on the theories on how this would work and how I would explain it. So I'm hoping this year I can at least start the experiment.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. I think it's fascinating. Yeah, I'd like to see you do that. I really would.
Oh, good.
Yeah. It's interesting because I come from, and once again, we'll talk about this later, and I'll send you a documentary, but I have experience with the psychotronics and the man-made mock radio signals, which mimic voice patterns and dialogue, and I know they can do that. So I do know it is something that they are able to do, but at the same time, I'm very well aware that we have certain beings and dimensional beings and spirits and ghosts that actually do communicate, and of course, that ties right into clairvoyant and natural telepathy. So It's fascinating, all of it.
Let me ask you this: what's your opinion on these ghost box?
I don't know about that. It's a little sketchy, if you ask me. I'd have to do more research on it. What's your take on that?
The science side of me says it doesn't work. Basically, all you're doing is sweeping the active radio waves in your area. Even though it's on 1/100th of a second on each station, you don't get a full word.
Right.
So in my mind, it's like, it's a game of chance. It's a game of random chance. After a while, you're going to hear what you want to hear.
Absolutely.
Now, in saying that, I've been on a couple of cases where other groups have used the same device. And being someone who doesn't really believe in using these ghost box, I decided to do an experiment. I asked the question, can you tell me how many fingers am I holding up? And I would put it behind my head so no one else could see me, except one of my other investigators to verify I have the numbers that I'm showing. And on this one time, I put up 7 fingers. Then I asked the question, and then you hear a voice saying 7. And I'm like, okay, you know what? That's a coincidence. Let me try again. So I put up 3 fingers, and I asked the question, and you hear 3. Like, okay. Then I ask a question, can you tell me what my name is? And then you hear, John.
Sounds
now,
like you're haunted.
Yeah. Well, this is at the Mounds Theater in St. Paul. Now, the thing is, was that something paranormal? Was it something I was wishing, and I wanted to hear these responses, or was it something actual talking through the radio?
You know what? It sounds like a thought amplifier to me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I, and I was thinking, if this device is real and it does communicate with the spirits and stuff, then I could sit in my car and hit the seat button, which is the same thing, and I should get almost the same result.
Yep. Did you?
But I haven't. Nope. Found a lot of garbage on the radio, but hey, nothing that's telling me like, hey, John, I'm here.
White noise.
Yeah.
In between the spaces. Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm still kind of weirded out about your electrical issue when we first started the show. I still think that was strange.
Well, it's really interesting because like I said, the power came on, the TV came on, and it came on to this Lizzie Borden, the axe murderess.
Are you serious, dude?
And I'm like, wait a minute, I just had the Xbox on.
Oh,
and now the laptop's not turning on. I keep getting the blue screen of death.
Wow, that's wild. Well, I think they like to play. That's what I think. Did your whole neighborhood go out and find out if that happened?
Yeah. If they want to impress me, I've got some dishes in the sink.
There you go. Yeah, start the vacuum already, right?
Yeah.
Be careful what you wish for. At 2 a.m., you're going to hear the vacuum start up.
Oh, if I did that, I wouldn't. I'd put the covers over my head and wake up the wife and go, you go look.
That's so funny. And we did talk a little bit about the poltergeists, but apparently everything's been kind of quiet in your house, as you said, but we were talking off air about that a little bit.
It's really interesting, and a lot of paranormal investigators will understand this. When people start remodeling an old house, in theory, the activity should increase because spirits are seeing a destruction of their home. In their mind, the house is fine. But to us, the house needs work. Right. So with the history and the hauntings of our house, we figured that all hell was going to break loose again. They're going to move the tables on us. They're going to, put the chairs on the couches like they've done in the past. We just remodeled our house. We put new siding, new windows, new floors, plumbing, electrical, you name it, drywall. We tore the house apart and put it back together again. Not one thing happened.
Nice. Spirits are happy.
They must be.
Yeah.
Either that or they just went, yeah, you know what? This guy's an idiot with the Sawzall. We're going to stand over here and leave him alone and not bother him.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, it sounds like... go ahead.
But not even an orb. Which, a ball of light, excuse me. I don't like using the term orbs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just in the past couple of days, my youngest daughter, who's 5, has been complaining about someone standing in her room, which tells me that they're still here, but they're keeping quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if they are disturbing my daughter, I'm gonna have to go upstairs and take care of that, because rule number 1: you can haunt the house, but you stay out of my kids' room.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, but besides, it's just been it's destroyed my theories that if you remodel a house, you're going to have activity.
Mm-hmm.
It's been wrong.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the ground. I know out on the island of Maui they were constructing a beautiful condominium for, a really expensive one. And they were having a lot of issues to a point where they actually brought in a kahuna and blessed the land because it was people were dying. They were having freak accidents with the construction workers, weird stuff, lights going on and off, all that kind of stuff was happening.
Well, there's a place here in Minnesota. There's a town called Stillwater, and it had the first territorial prison in the state. And I think about, 10, 15 years ago, some kids got in there, set fire to it, and it burned down. So they rebuilt the whole area and put condos on top of the old prison.
Mm-hmm.
And I found some old Sanborn maps. These are fire insurance maps of towns. And it marks the progression of the prison itself, and they were adding on buildings. And I found on the map the prison hospital with a room called the dungeon for the insane people.
Wow.
And I took that map and I overlaid it with the new buildings that's been built on top of the old footprints of these old buildings. And I'm probably going to have to make a trip down there to see if anyone's experienced anything at the old prison site.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would think they would. Something.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting.
To see if the spirits are even there to begin with, and if they are they aware that there's something else on top of the building?
Yeah, and answer me this. I mean, so the people that are fractured psychologically, okay, say that they are attracting these disembodied entities in that facility, and when they die, when the person dies, wouldn't the entities just remain and then the person would ascend? Or what's your take on that? Or do you think the soul gets trapped with the entities?
No, are you talking about the living, someone like in a group home setting?
Say somebody's in an insane asylum and they're psychologically messed up and they're fractured and they have the entities around them. So say that person dies, would the entities separate from him at that point, or would they continue on with that person's spirit?
Boy, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Before I got into the paranormal, I used to work in a group home setting. And I used to take care of 3 adults whose IQ level ranged from a 5-year-old all the way up to a 15-year-old. They were very low-functioning adults. And two of them had 4 different personalities. One was a verbal guy, and the other one wouldn't talk. He kind of reminded me of Art Garfunkel. That's the only way I can describe him. He had that look. And every night he would sleep in his bed with his head underneath the covers. And after talking to the staff there, they would explain that there were things in the house and he would always be afraid. So if you see the covers over his head, that means there's something in the house. The other person, his name was David, had split personalities, and he would stand in one of the rooms and talk to someone named Mary Ann. And I figured it was like a past staff member. He had multiple personalities, so I didn't pay attention. Then all of a sudden, he would go, Mary Ann, no, leave him alone. Don't bother him. And I would look at him and say, who are you talking to? And he'll say, Mary Ann. It's like, okay, where's Mary Ann? And he'll point to the staircase. Now, this is, again, before I got into the paranormal. So I figured, again, mental illness, not going to worry about it. One evening, I was sitting downstairs. The clients were in bed. I had some company over, and I fell asleep in the recliner chair. But it was in a state of, I wasn't sound asleep, but I was aware what was going on. I can still hear MTV on when it had Friday night video fights. Tell you how long ago that was. But I remember looking at myself from the staircase, from a different view. And it startled me, and I woke up. And then I realized the client is talking to someone who stays on that staircase. I think people who have mental disabilities, I don't think they're really that crazy. I think the part of their mind that's so open that they are aware and able to communicate and receive information from whatever is there. They can't process it logically like we can, but in their reality, it's another person.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's kind of like a split consciousness thing.
Exactly. And, you know, when a lot of these people have these episodes where their personality changes, is it really their personality, or are they picking up, or is it a spiritual person or an entity coming into them?
Right. And also, could it be an influence from a past life, like a personality from another lifetime of the same individual? That's another thing.
Exactly. And I think stuff like that should be investigated more.
I agree.
I don't know how a person would do it, but I don't think using medication is the right thing.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah.
Now, if they're a violent person, that's something totally different. But it'd be interesting to get some of these people who are schizophrenic and maybe do a past life regression.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah, put them under and see what comes out in a controlled environment.
Well, you got me thinking. I got to find someone who can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I would do it. I mean, seriously, I think it's something to look at for sure. Because I do think a lot of people's personalities are influenced by their other lifetimes as well. Not besides the other stuff, you know, besides the spirits that are connecting in and out. I think people are influenced by a lot of their timelines of lifetimes, on and off world even. Who knows? It's so advanced. I mean, it's so vast.
I mean, it's like, talking about past lives, you know, we all have fears in our daily lives. There's certain things, you know, we're afraid of bridges or dark rooms or certain sounds or whatever. I have a phobia of things around my neck. I can't wear a tie.
Wow.
I can't have things buttoned around my neck. I start freaking out. I start getting sick. And I always thought it was something, you know, something silly. Until I did my first past life regression. And what I found out was, in a past life, I was an airman in World War II. And the bomber that I was in got shot down. And in this past life, I jumped out of the plane as it was crashing. The parachute came off, and instead of deploying like a normal parachute, it got caught around my neck.
Wow.
And that's how I died.
That's intense.
To me, that makes why I don't like things around my neck.
Right. Yeah, that's stored trauma. And usually we carry those over from other lifetimes. If you've died traumatically in a past life, you'll carry that over at the cellular level. And then it's there. It influences you on a vibrational level, but you're not sure where it comes from. So I'm glad you had the regression done. It makes sense to me anyway.
Yep.
Yeah. It's so, kind of...
So I think a lot of people, you know, if you have fears in this life, do a past life. I guarantee you're going to learn something from it, and you might actually not be afraid anymore.
Right. Yeah. And not to own it, too. Just observe it. Just be the sacred witness to the experience itself. Yeah, I think that makes a huge difference, and people would clear out a lot of their, you know, personal issues, I think. And then you have the programming, too. I mean, regular society's programs. So there's so much people have to deal with. I mean, they have a lot on their plates right now on a mental, emotional, and physical level just to get by in life and just to kind of navigate beyond these waves, these gravity wells. You know,
but, you know, it only takes 5 minutes to start changing yourself.
I agree. Yeah.
5 minutes, turning off the TV, turn off the iPad, turn off the phone, turn on some music, whatever makes you relax. And sit there and close your eyes, open your mind, and just say, you know, universe, you know, please take away my fears. And visualize, you know, colors, and visualize an open field, and just being at peace, feeling the peace. You do that once a day, every day, I guarantee you people would change.
Oh, I agree. Totally. Yeah, there's something to be said by, even the martial arts. As a martial artist, I can always tell you that Tai Chi exercise is really good, or Qigong exercises are really helpful as well to put you in that zone of higher consciousness. So, yeah, and that only takes a few minutes. Breathing exercises, prana, life force.
Yeah, and that's how old? That's what, thousands of years old?
Oh yeah, and beyond that, I'm sure. But yeah, it's definitely the key to a lot of different things. I'll tell you what, the breath of life means a lot. I don't take that for granted these days, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, once people realize, just because you can't see it, touch it, hold it, weigh it, examine it, doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And if you look at it, everything's a particle of energy, and every form of energy has consciousness. So it's very intense. I mean, there's a lot of information floating around that we don't even pick up on half the time.
Or if we do pick it up, we just dismiss it as, oh, I'm going crazy, or that's just rubbish.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is sad.
Yeah, it is sad, and that's a program too. People are way too they overanalyze everything, instead of trusting spirit or their higher self or their soul energy. And I was going to say, we are. If you guys want to call in, we can take calls. Are you up for taking calls, John?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure,
Yeah,
definitely.
we got a half hour left here. So if you want to call in, number is 347-688-2902, or Freedom Screen on Skype, or send me a text. I haven't been poking my head in chat much, but I'll poke my head in there if you guys have a question. And John, do you do you do a lot of investigations in graveyards or no?
No, I kind of stay away from graveyards.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a graveyard should not be haunted. There's no connection to a graveyard.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like house. I mean, we don't live at a graveyard. Traumatic events don't normally happen at a graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
So they shouldn't really be haunted. For some reason they are, but I'm one of those, I don't, even though I like dealing with the dead, I don't like being in that close proximity of the dead.
Mm-hmm.
I find it, if there's someone there, and they're at rest, let them be at rest.
Mm-hmm.
And besides, the cops don't like it when kids are running around. Mm-hmm. And in this day and age, there's a lot of troublemakers. I mean, you can get in trouble just being there.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're a ghost group and you're in one little part of the cemetery, and then the next day someone finds a headstone's been vandalized,
mm-hmm.
you didn't do it, they're going to come after you.
Yeah, that's true.
And then that's going to get into the papers, and
Yeah, courtesy goes a long way. I always say that. Yeah, and I always find that cemeteries are very peaceful whenever I walk through a cemetery. It just feels very calm to me energetically. That's just my impression. I've never had any, problems. I don't haunt them, but I'm wondering how much, it seems to me like people are haunted and not the ghosts aren't really haunting, the people are. I don't know, I could be wrong, but it seems to me, like you say, that all the activity surrounds people and not a vacant area or land. Is that correct?
Correct.
Wow, that's pretty interesting, isn't it?
Correct.
So
I did a couple of experiments just to prove that a location, a piece of land, doesn't have to necessarily be haunted.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a local parking lot here in town where I live at night just to do EVP recording to see if I can pick up anything.
Wow.
And I get nothing.
But
if I go to, if I get near a group of people, and I've done this a couple of times at malls, I've gotten some really unusual EVP recordings. Now, granted, malls are noisy. There's a lot of background noise, so you have to be very careful of what you're perceiving as an EVP. But yeah, I mean, I find that if you have a group of people, 5 or more, you will get some sort of spiritual recording.
Wow, that's fascinating. And we do have a caller, John, and it's Robert Peppino, one of my favorite hosts over here at Revolution Radio. Hi, Robert.
Oh, okay.
Hello, my dearest. How are you? And
good.
I started listening to the show, and I'm sorry I didn't catch the whole show. But dealing with my situation here, you know all about it. I have to go through it. But I turned on the show and I was listening to it. And so obviously you're talking about, spirits, ghosts, entities. My question is to John is, do you think that and this is one of the things I talk about quite often, is that there is levels of existences, right? So we are in this third dimensional plane, John. So we're in this physical inhabited body, right? But we are soul, spirit, conscious beings. So when we, disembark from this physical plane and go to the next level, could it be, and it's something I've thought about, I'd like to get your opinion or point on, that when we go through that in-between state, okay, as we are having or making that decision that, between states. In other words, we've disembodied from this reality, we're going to embody another reality, and there's that moment of stasis, okay, where we, in my opinion, we do a lot of the, soul searching, a lot of reviewing of our own physical existence, of where we have just been in and what we have just inhabited. Could it be that the spirit form, the soul conscious energy, is exactly that spirit form that we can see?
Boy, that's a good question. Wow. Boy, you got me on that one.
Sorry, I know I kind of threw a lot out there, but I found the conversation very intriguing, and this is a subject that excites me a lot, and I wanted to get your opinion, your thought process here.
I think what could happen, and I'm going to do this from a medium point of view than an investigator point of view. I think that once we pass on, we can either return back with our souls back to this level, or we can move to the next level and reincarnate on a different level. Now, it doesn't have to be here on Earth, so to speak. It can be on a different plane of existence at a higher level of intelligence and learn from there and then come back. I don't think our souls is just, limited to returning back to this level of existence. I think it can go anywhere it wants to.
Well, I absolutely agree with you, and that's why that's why I kind of put that. It's kind of like that evolutionary process, I guess, in my own thought process.
Yeah.
That once you exist in this plane, you've experienced this level of comprehension, and I'm not saying it's just one-time soul existence, because I actually happen to believe this, John, that we go through multiple experiences here on this plane, and we have to achieve, it's like going to school in a certain sense. Did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? And it's kind of like a checklist. Did you go through all this? And I guess once you've finally achieved that, you through every life cycle, of course, not just the one, but life cycles. Once you have obtained that checklist, okay, you have dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, so to speak. That level of the next transition, in my mind anyway, is that thought process is where we have that residual energy which we leave behind because we've lived so many existences, on this planet, and that might be a residual effect of what we may be seeing. That's just just a thought process. That's all I'm saying.
Like a psychic imprint.
Yeah, exactly, Solaris. Like psychic imprint.
Well, one theory I like to tell people is, especially when it comes to spirit guides, that the spirit guides themselves are us, our souls, that have learned everything it needs to learn. Now it's going to the next level of an existence, and that is to learn how to be more compassionate and help those on a lower level, kind of like a counselor.
I absolutely agree.
Once they
absolutely
do that,
agree with you. God, I absolutely agree with you.
Yep. And then the soul from there goes on to learn whatever else is out there. I mean, for us to determine what else is out there for us to learn is we can't do it. It's beyond our scope of intelligence. Only our soul knows exactly what is out there on a higher level. And I do believe once we learn what we need to learn to grow from this plane, we move on to the next. And
John,
we learn from there. That could take thousands of years, or many generations.
Can I ask you another question, John? What do you think of the haunted collectors?
He's asking that from Gen 579. Robert, are you taking over my show? He's hijacking.
I am kind of. I'm sorry, sweetheart. And believe me, my name is not hijacker. Okay.
Oh, I know. I'm teasing you. And okay, well let's go ahead and answer that, John. And so we're running out of time here for a second. But yeah, what do you think of the haunted collector? Yeah.
I've met John a couple of times, and I'm sorry, I don't buy it.
Okay.
I honestly don't buy that all these items that he has are haunted. If everything he has in his collection is haunted, there should be stuff flying around his basement right now. And it seems like everything he's gathering is some sort of antique that has value to it.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
It's like I can go into an antique store and go, look at this, nice oak table or a Civil War gun that I really want but can't afford, and go, hey, you know what? Have you been having problems in your house? Really, I feel there's a spirit attached to this gun. Let me take this for you, and I guarantee you won't have any more issues. I'm sorry, I don't see it working that way in the spirit world. I think that if the story is told about what has happened with that item, that the spirit can be at rest and move on. But the actual object itself, I don't buy it.
Mm-hmm. That's good to know. Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that one, and I don't pay much attention to that myself. So, and Robert, did you have any more questions? Because we were getting ready to wrap this up quick.
No, I that's all I wanted to ask. I just wanted to throw that in there. But thank you for answering as best as you can, John. And please continue. I'm going to listen off air.
I appreciate you calling, Robert. I want to thank you for calling in.
Thank you, Robert.
Yeah.
My pleasure. I'm going to listen off air, guys.
Okay, I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. All right.
That was a really good question about the journey of the souls, and does it, continue to learn outside of this realm? That's a really good question, and I think people should sit down and think about that, about their own souls.
Oh, totally. I totally agree with that. Well, we are multidimensional beings, and we do exist simultaneously on all different dimensions. So it's not a stretch to perceive it like that at all. I think we're constantly processing data and archiving data into the central universal computer.
Or as my wife would say, we are our own Doctor Who Time Lords.
Yeah, isn't that fun? Except if that's
Only
the case.
my wife can come up with that.
Doctor Who, I need one of those nice little time machines. Go travel around for a little while. That'd be fun. I don't know if I'd want to go backwards, though. I think I'd like to check it out, in the future and see what happens. What's your take on it a few years from now?
I just for giggles, I think I would go back in the past and then compare it to what it is now and see how much we have grown as a society and as a being.
That's very interesting. Do you think we have grown? That's the key, or are we going in reverse?
I think we're going in reverse. Yeah,
I do too. I think a lot of us are. Not us, but I think there are a lot of people here that are. Yes, they're absolutely going backwards.
We're definitely going backwards. And, it's just the cycle of life. It's like, the Ottoman Empire, it rose and fell. Rome rose and fell. Well, now we're going back into that cycle. America is falling. Our enemies are now becoming like the Soviet Union. They're turning into the States, what the United States used to be. And the United States is turning into what Russia used to be.
Yeah, it's like a mirror image.
Yep.
It's very, very interesting, and it's kind of disturbing at the same time, isn't it? Without a doubt.
Yeah, but you know what? We are resilient people.
Oh, I believe that too.
As I just said that, I just walked back into the living room with the TV on with this axe murder lady, and just saw her just hack her dad in the head with a hatchet.
Oh, geez. Talk about violence. Yeah. That's what you're putting into your atmosphere.
Oh, geez.
I mean, you're bringing that into your house. Maybe the spirits turned it on.
Yeah, no, I'm going to change it.
Yeah, you might want to change that channel there. Speaking of which, I want to cover real quick, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, the best way would be through your website. Is that correct?
Yep, either website, which is MinnesotaParanormalInvestigators.com,
okay,
or just find us on Facebook.
Yeah,
At Minnesota Paranormal Investigators Group.
exactly.
I'm usually on there constantly, and that's usually the best way to get a hold of me.
Okay, and you're still doing local investigations, or have you stretched out a state or at all? Or
we're still doing local
okay,
within the state of Minnesota, but we're now kind of backing off from doing the homes and businesses and more doing historical research.
nice. I like that. Yeah, I think that's.
As I tell people, we're going to make history come alive again.
Oh, that's wonderful. Resurrecting, are you?
You never know.
No pun intended. No. But have you ever encountered skinwalkers? I was going to ask you that earlier.
Say again?
Have you ever encountered skinwalkers?
No,
Okay.
I haven't.
Okay, or shapeshifter type, any type of ominous spirits like that?
No.
That's good.
Now, people say that when I channel that my face will distort and change to certain features, but I look at it on video and I can never see it.
That's interesting.
But a lot of people say, well, your face is changing and the mass is changing on the cheeks or in the face, and it's like, well, okay.
That's interesting. Well, you could be a little shapeshifter yourself, I would imagine. But yeah.
If I'm a shapeshifter, then I want to shape into it like a big, hunky guy with abs and of steel and big muscles.
Oh, that's great. I like that. Well, let's go with one thing real quick here. What are some strong indicators someone's house is haunted? Just for the listeners out there who might suspect a haunting in their house.
Really quick, that would be things moving around would be a key one, like chairs being relocated. If you have children and they're talking to someone and having a conversation or playing with an unknown entity.
Wow.
They keep saying, I'm playing with Sarah, and you ask, who's Sarah? And they say, my play friend.
Mm-hmm.
Play with me in a room. That's a key sign. Also, noises, if you start seeing shadows, that's also a key point. If you're sitting down or if you're in a room and you feel like you're being stared at from a distance, that would be a key sign. Of course, if you've taken photographs and you've gotten some unusual anomalies, that could be also a key factor.
Wow. Well, that sounds like my house when I was growing up. I tease. Oh, it's funny. But yeah, I mean, I can resonate with a lot of that information. Is there a generic name associated with the children that they play with their little play friends? Is that name, like, say, for example, Sarah, is that a popular name or is that just something you just pulled out?
Oh, that's something I just pulled out.
Okay, I was just wondering if there's a name that's consistent with some of these hauntings with children interacting. And there is another question here from the chat. It said, any info on the black-eyed children?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
What you got?
That's a whole subject.
You're gonna have to come back to my show then.
Yeah, let's keep going in suspense on that one. I have encountered black-eyed children. They are, people look at them as something demonic. They're not. They are a unique soul. I'll put it to you that way. Some of them are mischievous at times, but a lot of them they're stuck. There's nothing dangerous. Like I said, I've encountered a couple of them in the past couple of years. Wow.
You actually physically encountered them?
I have seen them, and some of my crew members have seen them.
Wow.
Some of us have a theory that they're not really children, but they're the Greys.
Maybe hybrids, perhaps?
Could be.
Mm-hmm. That's what comes to
They're
mind.
not really spirit, but they're, if you want to talk about shape-shifting, that could be them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very interesting.
So there's a couple of theories out there on what they could be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I've seen them not in the house, but outside, in locations where there's been where people have claimed to see UFO sightings, or not Bigfoot sightings, but sightings of like the Winnebagos and werewolves and things like that, especially up here in Minnesota.
Wow. That's pretty fascinating, if you ask me. I know that they look like they're from another time period, from what I understand, and that they usually wear kind of dark clothing and have an ominous energy. Does that kind of resonate?
I've seen the ones that I've seen. Like I said, it was really brief. I couldn't make out the clothes, but to me they were just more gray. And that's why I'm kind of leaning towards maybe they're more of an, like you said, like an alien hybrid.
Yeah, that's what they sound like. Yeah, interdimensional or something.
I mean, some of the drawings that I've seen, if you look at those and compare it to the grays, they look almost the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, the heads are a lot smaller, obviously, and they're a lot shorter, but if you look at a lot of the aliens that's been documented, that people have seen, a lot of the aliens are smaller creatures.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like what you see in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, with, these 8 feet, arm spans. They're very short.
Right. Yeah, that's very well could be. That's what it sounds like to me. It seems to me that they're kind of, there's a sadness to them too, huh? Or is that something else? They're energetic?
I don't recall any type of emotions coming from them.
Okay.
But when we saw them, it was more like of a shock. It's like, did we all just see what we probably just saw? And this is outside of a place that was haunted. So without real, finding another location that has the black-eyed kids, and actually doing research and experiments to see if we can get them to communicate, I don't think we really know what they are.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that would be something to work on for sure. I find that to be a fascinating topic. And we're almost out of time here, John, but I just want to thank you so much for being on tonight. I really appreciate you being here, and I want you to come back as soon as you get more information and you want to share some more spooky tales. I'd like to cover more on the black-eyed children, too, and also the experimentation you're looking at. So that just sounds fascinating to me. And I want to thank, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. What's that, John?
I said, just give me a couple months, and I'll have some information for you.
Excellent. I will. I'll reschedule you back in because I just love having you on, and I appreciate you being on tonight, especially with the power issue. But I think that was gremlins in the wires. So we've talked about gremlins before.
Gremlins strikes again.
Yeah, they do. And thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I want to thank you guys. Thanks for the call and everybody's feedback in the chat and all that other good stuff. And, of course, Jerry B. for helping me out behind the scenes. And please join me next week when my special guest will be Miles Johnston. And, of course, he's going to be he's the one and only Basis series guy. So he'll be talking about a lot of different things and probably the black oil. We'll see what he's been up to. And stay tuned for Shiny Side Out with David Dunger and Mecky coming up next to sail you on into the night from down under. And I will be joining David and Mecky, if I can stay awake, with coffee in hand. And we'll see how that rolls. So anything else you'd like to add before we close out of here? We've got a few more minutes. John?
I just ask that everyone just, be at peace with each other, smile. If you see a stranger, say hi to them. If you see someone in need, if someone it looks like they're distressed, just smile at them and just tell them it's okay. Give nice. The love back. Pay it forward.
Mm-hmm. That's very good feedback. Yeah, life is too short, as we all know, and I think that's really important to stay positive and not have any conflicts if you can avoid them. That's my take on it anyway. Try to keep things as peaceful as possible. Yeah, for sure. And one quick question, you might be able to answer this before we run out of time here, but do you feel ghosts could be related to time traveling?
Yes.
Yeah. So they're not really ghosts, but perhaps navigators.
Yes. There's a whole other subject right there, and if we had time, I'll give you my my water drop theory about spirits and how I think they could actually be not spirits as in deceased, but alive as you and me, but we're just looking at it from a time distortion.
See, that makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah. Well, I look forward to having you back because I want to cover these topics for sure. So I'll have to make some mental notes here and remind myself. That's fascinating.
Okay.
And what else do you have down the pike? Are you going to be doing anything next few months? Anything, writing books or anything?
No, not. I was going to write a book, but I kind of put that on the back burner for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to just keep doing experiments and keep learning and,
Excellent.
Just keep going forward.
That's wonderful. And are you teaching classes too or no?
We're going to be teaching one class probably in May
Mm-hmm.
at the theater here in St. Paul.
Nice.
But like I said, we kind of stay out of the limelight because our goal is to learn and to research, not to be, the well-known, famous ghost group and everything else.
Right. Well, I think your priorities are in the right direction because I always notice whenever anybody goes over to media and mainstream, it just gets scrambled and edited and censored, and it just becomes a circus act. That's my observation anyway. So you're probably doing the best thing.
We're in it for the love of it, for the science, for the learning, not for the fame.
Yeah, I think that, the 20 minutes of fame, it just doesn't work sometimes, does it? And you also still storm chase, right? Are you still chasing storms? We're out of time, darn it.
Yep, still a storm chaser.
Okay, well, John, thank you so much. I appreciate you being on the show tonight. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and I will see you next week. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
John. Bye.
Yep.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio.